So the way that they've then captured the syllabus, they've captured it in 5 core skills that you need to look forward to getting. We are not going to be worried about ethics, integrity, professionalism. You guys have done that through your APC. You live that every day. You have ethics as your daily suit when you're going to work. So those I'm not worried about. But let's zoom into these other aspects. There's technical as well. I'm not so much worried about. Yes, there are things that are somewhat a significant focus here, which is good, but fundamentally, I don't think you'll find that we are going to teach you things that are so out there, but just the application and integration with the other skills are some of the things you're going to enjoy. Then, when we talk about technical skills, as you see there, financial accounting and reporting, I'm sure you are smiling like, oh, I know that. Cost accounting and management, I know that. Business planning. So that's where now it gets a little bit interesting that, oh, what are we talking about here now? Yes, I might have learned about strategy, the value creation system, but here we're going to spend a little bit of time on it. Management reporting and analysis. Give me financial statements. I'll tell you whether this company has got liquidity. So those I know are the things that you thrive in. Corporate finance and treasury management. Corporate finance, we've done valuations, we've done M&A. So those, I think you are you've done source of financing as well as cost of capital. You are fairly comfortable when it comes to that. Then come what? Treasury management. Treasury management, we're going to spend a little bit more time on it, just to unpack the tools that one can use in order to just manage the long-term currency risk, long-term interest risk, and so on and so on. I mean, if you look at some of the recent results, we have Vodacom, MTN. If you just go 12 months back, you'll see that 6 months ago, MTN was just telling us that their financial results didn't go so well. Why? The depreciation of the Naira had a negative impact. Vodacom, same story. They were telling us about the Egyptian, I think, pound, I think that's what it's called. They were telling us about those things. So if you are to say, I want to apply to a job in those companies, am I able to really show some insight about the issues and maybe on a high level start to say, this is how best I'll be able to fit in and contribute. Risk management and internal controls. These I know are some of the things that I'm sure you love so much. In accounting information systems, taxation, tax strategy, planning and compliance are some of the core aspects. So that's why I'm saying from a technical perspective, there isn't quite a lot that I'll say you are going to say I'm going to learn, but how they now apply in a practical context and how they're integrated, it's quite a very unique way that they present it. Then business skills. This is where it gets interesting. Strategy, business models, market and regulatory environment, process management, business relations, business ecosystem management are some of the core aspects right there. And when we talk about that E3, it's called strategic management, and that's where you're going to enhance your business skills or business acumen. Then we talk about people skills. People skills, sure, when you started your career, you thought that you just need to work harder and everything will come together. But I'm sure now you've discovered that you can't ignore the people you work with. You can't ignore the people that are in position of power. You have to learn to influence them. You have to learn to negotiate and the kind of decision-making power that they've got and how they wield it in order to thrive in your career. You have to learn about what is the best way to communicate an issue. I mean, sometimes our syllabus teaches us that everything has to be written because we write an IEC exam, we write an APC exam, but sometimes you get that email and you know that, yeah, I probably need to stand up. I probably need to go to that person and just unpack this issue, because if I try to respond, I'm just worried about X or Y. So that is quite important. And some things that when we talk about stakeholder management, you're going to be exposed to, because the board is going to come to you and say, we've just got an article. What should we do about this? We are worried that this is going to affect our reputation. Can you draft to us a communication strategy? And you might then say, oh, sure. Yes, because it's coming from a news article, we need to do this first, we need to do that, we need to investigate, and all these kind of things. And when we were talking about how the likes of Apple, Uber, Airbnb have come to be a success, collaboration, partnering are some of the things that you will need to be more mindful of. And what it does, and one powerful thing about it, is that it's going to help you to change your perspective about other people. And you are going to really have the patience and ability to become more aware, learn to be quiet and analyze, and be able to respond in an intelligent man. Then we've got leadership skills, where now you might now say, I'm here and now I've got 1, 2, 3 direct reports. How do I build a vision that I want for the team? How do I take the top and bring it down? How do I coach and mentor those candidates? How do I ensure I drive performance? What tools do I have? And so on and so on. What if there's a new system coming through and I know my team hates it after they put so many hours on a different system, or after they've done this and so on? So how do I manage and help manage change in an organization? How do I stand and be able to motivate and inspire others? So those are some of the leadership skills that you're going to be exposed to in this regard. Digital skills. I love the fact that it's in the middle and it's orange. You can't miss it. It is saying that it brings all these things together. And it was quite interesting. It was just about 2 weeks ago, and someone was just talking about why they had an issue with Uber, and someone then asked, so yeah, why don't you call the consultant or something like that? And the person was like, are they consultants? I didn't know. I thought it was just an app. And this is someone who's been using this app for a very long time. But the key takeaway for me was how now the digital technologies have created such efficient system that sometimes you forget that there are people behind a particular system. There are people that can actually handle people related matters. So it's a very interesting one. And I'm sure maybe some of you might say, I've been shopping on Take a Lot for a number of years. I've never needed to talk to someone. Yes, if I'm not happy, I could just click something and then the system says this has been handled. Next thing it's resolved. But sometimes there are people behind those systems. And it's quite interesting just how the power of technology has enabled us to do more. And once you have this qualification, you are now exposed to the power of digital technologies and their effect on what you do or the world around you. Okay? But now, how does that look like from a syllabus delivery perspective? So let's look now at the syllabus. So the syllabus, I'm not going to go into detail, quite a lot of detail around it, because some of the details you don't need. Since where you really start at the apex, at the last level, and on the last exam. But just to understand the power of your qualification, I'll just give you some heads up. So CIMA has got 4 levels. as you can see on the left-hand side. One is the certificate level, operational level, management, and strategic level. Because sometimes when you engage with the administrators at CIMA, you probably need to have some of this understanding, or maybe you're engaging with our team or your lecturers. So here, to give you some idea, when we talk about certificate level, think about it as your undergraduate level. So undergraduate level, if you try to remember what you're doing, you might say that I actually learned that there's something called an overhead when I was in what? When I was doing my undergrad. I learned about this thing called cost of capital when I was in undergrad, and so on. So the certificate level is exactly that. It lays the foundation. It lays the foundation. So the fundament, that's why the courses are called fundamentals. So you learn the fundamentals of business economics, fundamentals of management accounting, fundamentals of financial accounting, as well as fundamentals of ethics, governance, and business law. The fundamentals. Then, number two, operational. When we talk about operational, call it your advanced qualification. This could be your CTA, this could be an advanced diploma, a postgrad diploma in finance, or really finance and related degrees. So here you will realize that once I know that, once I know my fundamentals, the examiners were having a field day teaching me how to apply them in different contexts. They even assessed me on application. In most institutions, CTA is called a postgraduate diploma in applied accounting, because it's exactly that we are applying that massive content we learned in our degrees. So think about operational as that level. From a work environment, if you think about it, after you had CTA, what did you do? You were a junior employee. You are a first year trainee. So that is, even from a practical perspective, they're expecting candidates to be at. And after or before they go to the next level, they are required to complete an integrated case study exam, where now this case study takes everything that has been applied in the operational and now contextualize it in a real life context. So what is happening in operational? In operational, we are applying this context in the what? Where now we are managing finance in a digital world. Where now we are applying management accounting. We are applying financial reporting. And here, you might say that, yeah, but as an operational, most of the people never ask for my what? For my thoughts. They just wanted me to execute. That's what an operational employee most time find themselves doing. Then you go a little bit up. And when you go up, you are now in management level. Management level, think about yourself as moving to audit senior. There are now trainees below you. They come and ask you questions. And at this point, things are a little bit advanced. You are expected to not only apply, but to communicate your application results output more effectively, give instruction, motivate, ask the team to come over the weekend. So those are some of the things that are starting you are starting to be exposed to there. So from a syllabus perspective, you are being taught to manage performance, because that's it. That's it. Most audit senior or second year level trainees are now expected to be given a task to say, can you handle this work stream? And you might then say, oh, I've got two trainees here. I can give this one this, I can give this one this. And maybe I I know they don't like working over the weekend, so maybe let me make them work longer hours during the week. Oh, this won't be done. How do I incentivize? Maybe I need to buy that box of pizza. You are managing performance here. Then next, advanced management accounting. You're applying those concepts that you've learned in operational and certificate in a more complex aspects, and you are able to do what? Then you are able to demonstrate things like discuss, analyze, and add value from a management level. Then lastly, advanced financial reporting. We do ask you about your opinion on an accounting matter, and we trust that you will present it. We might not agree, but we will follow what you're doing. You have some level of what seniority in how you do. And after you are done with these individual modules or pillar modules, you are then exposed to a management case study, which now integrates all these things together. Then next, after you've completed, you then jump into what? Into strategic level. And if you're one of those that didn't like costing, you'll be glad to know there's no costing in strategic level. Strategic level, now you are the boss. If you have a standard costing exercise that's a little difficult for you, you've got people you can send it down to. So that is what strategy is all about. I know they call it management accounting, and for some, management accounting is synonymous with cost accounting. But a management accounting is different from just cost accounting. Cost accounting is just an aspect of it. And you'll be even more glad to know that you guys, with where you are starting, your paper does not include calculations. Imagine. So the paper will not ask you to calculate a work. You can comment on it, you can evaluate it, you can suggest improvements, what needs to be taken, but you will not calculate work. You will not calculate an NPV. If it's an NPV, there might be cash flows to say these are the cash flows, but you will not do those things where now, what are you doing? You've got these cash flows where you need to identify the relevant and non-relevant stuff. No, I'm sure your CFO does not deal with that. They've got you, who's probably an entry-level chartered accountant, or you that is maybe in a finance manager role to ensure that they get the report. Whether you shift it down to another junior, that's something irrelevant. But what now we are doing, we are focused on evaluating and making long-term decisions. So now notice even the name of the courses when you go up. They are called strategic management, risk management, and financial strategy. So there is no accounting. You are not accounting. There is no reporting. You are not reporting. You are really doing what? You are really making and contributing to long-term decision, crafting strategy, managing risks, and ensuring there are sufficient long-term financial resources. Then after you've covered these pillar modules, you then sit for the strategic case study, which after you complete, you then become what? A CGMA professional. But because they want to know that you are not just some bright guy sitting in a room, never having worked anywhere, you need to demonstrate that I do have practical experience. And because a CA, we have already covered a 3-year contract, that makes it easy to tick that box off. They call that the practical experience requirements, PER. Some people just call it PER if you ever heard them talking about it. So now let's just summarize in the next slide how your journey looks like. So the gray, you guys don't need to worry about it. So you don't need to worry about the operational. You don't need to worry about management level. you need to worry about strategic level. From a level perspective, that's it. Then assessments, you don't need to worry about objective tests. What are objective tests? The objective tests are what you write to prove that you know the content in E3, P3, and F3. You don't need to write them. You only need to write the case study exam. You only need to write the case study exam. And you might be thinking, what is it? But this case study exam, I just written APC, and it required me to invest 6 to 8 months of my life. And if we start counting about this most program starting in February, March, then I had to invest almost 10 months of my time. And if I also count the time to results where I was having sleepless nights, then I'm talking about a full year invested in this. Am I going to go through the torture? You might be asking yourself. And the answer is no. So here we are going to have fun. We are here to learn, and we are not going to be worried about what do you call it, about anything else. We are going to learn, and once we are there, you are going to enjoy this case study. Once you've passed, as you go through those levels, you will see once you've had time on the left that there are specific qualifications. So you will not also be subjected to those. You will only be an ACMA, CGMA once you qualify. From a pillars perspective, because the case study is integrating enterprise, financial, and performance, you will need to know all of those. Then from an experience perspective, the idea is that as a professional, you just need to confirm that you are that. So those are some of the things that we're just finalizing with CIMA, just for them to really provide that black and white guidance. Because when you look at the documents, it's not absolutely clear. So after a week or two, we'll have an answer to that. But the understanding in terms of how it works, CIMA professionals coming into CA, they don't need to do LTS or any training requirements. And I had understood that it was the same that US CAs who've completed a SICA, ICAS, ICAN articles, you don't need to do the same thing. But I just wanted to get it in black and white, and with system, the system has to validate, or things have to be validated. So once we've got that in black and white, we'll provide more guidance in terms of how to do it. But when you go through the process, if you have a profile, you'll see that it does ask you, please upload your professional certificate, which you can just go and download from your SciCai can member system, and you just upload it there. But then the idea is also that you have to pay to become a student in order for them to do that. But when you pay to become a student, there's also a charge for the objective test. So we just want to know, how does the system cater for all that, and we'll be able to provide feedback, give it 1 or 2 weeks from now. But that is overall the journey you're going to take. But one of the things that is important, because for me, as I was saying, it's not about just an exam. It is about having and enhancing your capabilities, competencies, so that you become more relevant in this professional space. But let me just go through these 2-3 slides, then we'll just take some questions. So now, just to further unpack this, because now you're going and you might be saying that, but Rendana, when I was doing CA, they kept saying that I'm an entry-level chartered accountant. So here you've told me about operational management and now strategic. What is the qualification assuming of me? They are clear that you are a senior finance manager, meaning that you now need to be open to applying for those qualifications after you are done. Because essentially, They are saying that you as a finance manager, you are able to do what a finance manager do. But what does a finance manager do? If I say I'm a senior finance manager, if I see a role that say it's a senior finance manager, what is that person doing? So I love this. They say a senior finance manager advising the organization's leaders in the development of business strategy. To create value is required to evaluate strategic options, paying attention to the organization's ecosystem. Risk management is a significant part of the overall responsibility, including what? Cyber risk. So we saw recently who Pam Golding, the high-end realtor, sending out a communication saying that what? Saying that we've just been hacked. Yes, and most of the information that we have were not compromised and so on and so on. But one will say in the previous world, someone could have been hacked and they kept quiet. But the world now requires what? POPIA or information regulator requires that if you get hacked, tell the people that got hacked that you were hacked and give them be clear about which information was compromised and what do they need to do in order to further protect themselves and what you are doing in order to further protect the information they hold. So you as a senior finance manager, you are going to be having competencies, capabilities to handle that. Then the other one, it is the business case for digitization and the manner in which the entity creates partnership for ensuring strategic success must be understood, as must the operation of capital markets in determining value. So brilliant stuff. So are you able to put a business case together for digitization? What kind of value will it be able to add? Understanding that technology is simply an enabler of good strategic decisions to begin with. In itself, it's not a strategy, but it's an enabler of strategies. Are you able to see what digitization and the opportunities it can unlock in your organization? So this slide for me, it's very brilliant because it then paints how you should be thinking once you're done. So that's why I said for me, it's not just an exam, but I want you to embrace these things. I want you to have the confidence of being a CGMA when you walked into a room. Then next, or on the side, one of the things I love about it is to say, so as a senior management, at which level am I operating in? I am operating at level 4 and level 5. And you're going to see when we do our classes as from this week, which please, you're invited to come and join. If you're still thinking about it, or trusting you'll enjoy them, you're going to see how we unpack the syllabus when we talk about level 4 and level 5. That's what it's all about. Then you might be saying, what kind of verbs or the way I'm thinking that will be expected of me then? So they say that if we are talking about an evaluation, the examination or assessment of problems and the use of judgments to draw conclusions. And you might be thinking that sounds like critical thinking there. So you are going to advise, assess, evaluate, recommend, review, select things for your organization's leaders. And in terms of definition, that's something there. Another thing you're going to love about CIMA is just the transparency and clarity of how the exams are structured. So if I say to you, the exam is level 4 and level 5, you are not going to find another verb in the exam other than the ones noted here. And you will then know when we say evaluate what do we want and how to handle and evaluate questions when we start doing what? case study support preparation. Okay,